Welcome to the WDW Fan Zone show. This is episode 499. Next week is going to be our 500th episode, but it's not really our 500th episode. We started out as the WDW Fan Zone podcast, and we've done other shows within it. Darlene, you had a show with the late great Ron Thompson.
Yes.
Shelley Skoll did a show for a while. I forgot who she did it with, but with me and then someone else.
And me and her mom did it with me.
Yeah, and there was someone else too. So we're really probably about, I'd say, close to 800, maybe more. I'm not sure altogether. Probably more, probably double this. But in any event, yeah, we're not going to do anything.
It's 500.
Yeah, we'll celebrate the 500, but we're not going to do anything special for the 500. But this is 499, and with that, I will introduce everybody here. We've got Kurt, Darlene, Jess, and Lottie's here. Long time no see. We can't hear you, Lottie.
She's still muted.
Oh, she's still. All right, we'll get back to Lottie later. But welcome back, Lottie. All right, Jess, take it away with this week's news.
Hello, everybody. I have Disney's latest and greatest news. Well, not all of it's good news, but it's okay. All right. Don't forget, Tiana's Bayou Adventure officially opens this Friday, June 28th. And here's the not so good news. If you're planning on dining at Columbia Harbor House, I do have bad news for you. The Hush Puppies are no longer served there. If you are dying for some Hush Puppies, though, head over to Olivia's Cafe at Old Key West for brunch and Chef Art Smith's Homecoming at Disney Springs. I cannot guarantee, though, that they will taste the same. 2 new babies have been born at Animal Kingdom Lodge, a baby zebra and a baby eland. It's the type of antelope. Both moms and babies are doing well and will be out on the savannah soon. The Sassagoula River Cruise that goes back and forth between Port Orleans and Disney Springs is back in action. It was closed due to low water levels, but is now running. Wednesday is 626 Day, a day to celebrate Stitch, who is called Experiment 626 in the movie. There will be some fun Stitch-themed treats at Disney Springs Emirate Patisserie from today until June 30th, and Magic Kingdom's Ray's Starlight Cafe and Pineapple Lanai only on Wednesday, and your tongue might be blue after you eat those. Disney's Celebrate America will be the Magic Kingdom fireworks show on July 3rd and 4th at 9:20 p.m. this week. I'm sorry, next week. July 4th is next week, not this coming week. Instead of Happily Ever After. This show includes traditional American music with fireworks. An additional fireworks display will be over the Seven Seas Lagoon at the same time. It's so cool. It's like surround, like all over the place fireworks. Happily Ever After will be back on Friday, July 5th. Don't forget to check park hours before planning your trip and check again once you arrive to see if they've changed. And the Walt Disney World area is expecting summer heat, humidity, and daily chances of thunderstorms. Be prepared for unexpected rain showers to pop up at any time, but don't worry, they don't usually last too long. Unless you were there on Friday when it just kept raining all day. But that's not Friday. Was it Wednesday? It was Wednesday. It just was raining all day. But that's okay. It's still fun. It was no lightning, so we were still able to do everything. Anyway, that's all I have for today. See you real soon.
Thank you, Jess. Great as always. Thank you for
Jess.
keeping
Thank
our
you so
listeners,
much.
viewers up to date on all the wonderful news going on out there at Walt Disney World.
Everyone have a wonderful week.
You too. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
All right. Before we get into the show, I just want to mention some. If you guys out there, if you guys here think this is a good idea, what characters would you trade? Disney characters would you trade? Disney, Pixar, even Marvel trade to Universal to get the rights of all the Marvel characters they have there to get them into the Walt Disney World Park? If you think that's a good show idea for a future show, just drop us a line and let us know. Lottie had a technical difficulty, and she'll be back soon. Yes, Kurt.
All the characters from Home Alone. I'm sorry. Home on the Range.
Yeah, definitely.
There we go.
Definitely.
Even Trade.
And
Those
Chicken Little.
they're so valuable.
Yeah, I would give him Chicken Little too, but we can save that if we ever do that show.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll let our listeners and viewers decide. Speaking of listeners and viewers, it would really help us out if you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the show. It'll help us reach more Disney fans out there, so please be kind enough to do that if you haven't already. And we are waiting for Lottie to come back. But in the meantime, I guess we can start with the topic. Now, Disney historically has seen larger crowds in June than May. This year, not so much yet. I know this weekend was busy in terms of traffic in the area. So, darling, were you at the parks at all this weekend?
I was at the park on Thursday.
How were the crowds then?
They weren't bad,
Yeah.
but we had an issue. Rise was down, so of course all the other rides were a little bit overwhelming. But I was able to ride Mickey's Runaway Railway, Star Tours. I did get on Toy Story Midway Mania, and we had lunch. And we went in and see the preview for the Inside Out 2 is showing right now. So it was a fairly good day.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't feel like I was fighting crowds or anything.
Yeah. I know today I wasn't there, but I've heard from a couple of people that were that Magic Kingdom wasn't as crowded as they expected.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, hi Lottie, welcome back.
Hi.
Take two.
Yeah. Your screen is still freezing a bit.
Oh, great.
But we can hear you. So that's good. And we appreciate you coming back. I know it's trouble to come and see us every week, it's like, but we're always here for you.
I miss you guys.
Miss you too.
We miss you too.
According to touring plans, today's overall was a 6. So
but that's projected. They don't. There was
Right,
projected to be a 6.
yeah, it was projected, but Magic Kingdom was still projected low, which was a 5.
Yeah, this time of year, the parks should be, I don't want to say at capacity, but they should be a lot more crowded than they have been. And I think there are several reasons for it, and we'll get into that.
So I have a friend who just got back. He went like Tuesday to Wednesday. And I asked him specifically that because I was there the first week, and to me, it was about where we expected it to be. It's not crazy busy. It's right before all the schools get let out. It's about a level 6 is what I would say. And I asked him how he thought the crowd level was, and he said definitely not as busy as they expected it to be.
Oh, we lost Lottie again.
Lost Lottie again, so hopefully she gets that fixed.
Yeah.
But even he said he thought it would be busier than it actually was. I think there are factors once we actually get to that. There's definitely some factors for that.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. I think there are quite a few factors there. And I don't think most of them, I won't say all, but I think most of them are not Disney's fault directly for the crowd levels being down. By that, I mean the prices, but we'll get into all that momentarily. If you guys had a pick, and I'll start with you, Kurt, what do you think is what's the number one reason on your list why crowds are not there in as great numbers as they were the last few years?
Well, again, before people had that extra stimulus money. So they had that for a couple of years. So we're using it for a couple of years. That's gone now. The other reason, the prices are ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
Those ticket prices, a 5-day park hopper ticket, a 5-day park.
So that 5 times fast.
I know that my mouth is not working tonight. It was over $700. Like that when we started a couple years, well, even right before COVID hit, we were paying $700 for an annual pass. Now it's a 5-day park hopper pass.
Yeah.
It's price is number one in my book, but there are other reasons, but that's the number.
Oh yeah, there are definitely other reasons. Darlene, how about on your list of things?
On my list of things,
Number one. It could be the same as
my,
Kurt.
my first one is that families, I don't think a lot of the kids around the country, I don't think they can leave school as freely as they used to. A lot of the school systems
Schools
have
are out though. Well, except
Schools
in the
are out.
Northeast. Except in
No.
the Northeast, schools are out.
right. No, even my friends in Wisconsin and stuff, some of their kids are still going to school.
All right. Well, you know what? I
So
would
I-
bet.
I
I would bet
think a
without
lot of
having.
families are not.
Darlene, I'm sorry. I'm going to
Yeah,
interrupt you for a second. I would bet without having the statistics in front of me to prove it, that a majority, and that could be 51%. I don't know what it is, but whatever the majority, I think the majority of the country schools are out for the summer.
They're usually out after by the end of the first week in June. They're done. Majority of the schools.
Yeah.
By the end of the first week are done. This is someone that works in education.
But I do think you're onto something a bit though, because my number one reason they're not coming back this year is in part with what Kurt said. You know, a lot of people had stimulus money, they were traveling to Disney. Prices have gone up everywhere. And I know there's a term for it, I can't remember the name of it, but I think people are doing not necessarily staycations, but they're going to small, people that want to go to an amusement park will go to a smaller amusement park closer to them that they can drive to rather than fly somewhere because it's cheaper. And it's not the same, but it's what I think they're doing instead of trying to come to Disney World and spend thousands of dollars for a week, and that they for money with money they don't have.
So here's an interesting something interesting about based off of that though. There's a festival in the town that I live in. People are complaining on our local Facebook page that the prices for the tickets for the little kids have doubled since last year.
Wow.
So it's not just Disney that's raising the ticket prices.
Everybody.
Just to ride like one thing has gone up from like $4 to $5 to $10. They're like, this is ridiculous. Why? Why? It's a festival. It's supposed to be for family to go and enjoy, not here, let me empty your pockets.
Welcome back, Lottie. Looks like you moved to a different location.
And
Take
a completely different computer.
I
Wow.
can hear you.
And we can see you and hear you, and you're not frozen. I just asked, we all gave our number one reason why people aren't coming back the way they have been the last few years at Disney. What would your number one reason be? It's okay if it's same one as one of us gave.
Oh, price, cost.
Yeah, that's pretty much the theme of things. I think there were other factors, and I'm going to give a few of the ones that I have. And if anybody has others or wants to add on to, please feel free to do so. I think one of the major reasons is people are staying away because they're waiting for Epic Universe to open next year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think in the past, people would go to Disney for 5 days or a few days and then spend 1 or 2 days at Universal. I think next year it's going to be the opposite. I think they'll spend 3 or 4 days at Universal and maybe 1 or 2 days at Disney World. I could be wrong, but it's just my guess.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong.
I think people are, one of the most affordable vacations now, even though prices are going up, are cruises. And I think a lot more people are taking cruises because you know what? You're on a ship, there's activities, there's food, you have a place to stay, you go to different destinations, and it's just fun. And it's cheaper than Disney. Unless you're going on a Disney cruise, then maybe not so much.
Unless it's a Disney cruise.
Right, or maybe the Icon of the Seas, which is also a fortune of money. That's a Royal Caribbean ship.
Right.
But I think people are
Right.
doing other things. I think they're going, they're planning different destinations where they might rent out a room at a B&B or a whole house and do something different, maybe camping. I just think people are staying away for different reasons, and I think the economy is driving some of that. Anybody else have any other reasons why people are staying away? By staying away, I don't mean Disney
Yes.
doesn't have any guests there. They do. It's just not packed
Well,
like we've seen.
all the parks are having an issue with this.
Yeah.
It's the temperature.
Yeah, that's right. That's one. You're right. Absolutely right. I didn't mention that, but the temperature is absolutely a factor.
Sidebar. So one of our last days there, my nephew's got a couple Sea-Doos. So we met over by Tampa Bay, and we actually rode around in Tampa Bay and out into the Gulf. So to get on a Sea-Doo, you have to walk out into the bay. Well, when you first step into the water, what's the first thing you're doing? You tense up, waiting for that cold water to just initially shock you. You'd expect the temperature of that water to be right around 80, 82, 83. It was about 88 to 90. It was easily as warmer than the air. It felt like bath water. So there's a reason why they're calling for 1 million hurricanes to be hitting this year for you guys.
Yeah.
The water's already there.
Oh yeah. Last summer the parks were unbearable because of the heat. And I think people that came last year remember that, and word got out. I mean, it was hot everywhere. Right now, the Northeast and the Midwest are experiencing temperatures that are even warmer than it is here at Walt Disney World.
The last 3 days, it was warmer here than it was down there by you guys.
Yep.
We
Same
had
thing with my
92
daughter.
while you're walking around in 88-degree weather.
Yeah.
Come on.
My sister's there right now complaining about it. It was warmer in Indianapolis before they left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, Darlene, you were talking before about families.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the reasons you think families may not be so inclined to come this year?
Well, I know a lot of things that have been going on, like in our family, that they're not doing a lot of vacationing. There's theater groups that are coming back in. There are practice sessions for trials for hockey and that. They're sending their kids to camps instead to meet up with people and gather. Those are all things that are going on. I do have family coming in July 9th to the 14th. And it's smack dab in between two different theater practices. That was the only week that they could come. But it's been much more busier for families nowadays.
Yeah, unless you have preschoolers, you're absolutely right. And preschoolers don't have to come in the summertime. They can come here other times of the year.
Yeah.
But once you reach school age kids, you're right. There are a lot of activities, and Lottie, I'm sure you can attest to that. Something else that I think is keeping families away too. It's not just the price here. Now I just lost my train of thought. Great. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, it's something that I think is very dangerous for Disney. And I touched on Epic Universe coming next year, but Disney hasn't done a whole heck of a lot to appeal to people who have been here recently. By recently, I mean let's say once within the last 5 years. There have been changes in the park. Yes, now the walls are up at Test Track, but the walls are down and Communicore is now open. But what has Disney done to bring more guests in? That will say, "Wow, I've got to go this year." They really haven't done much, and I think this year's D23. And I don't want to say it's make or break. I think this year's D23. We know there's money available because Bob Iger's mentioned that they've got, what is it, $13 billion they're going to be investing here in Florida. How much of that is going to actual building things in the parks? There will be some.
Rumor has that half of it's going to be going towards a new park.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I think there's just too much for them to do. And I'd love to see a fifth park.
I agree.
I think there's just too much for them to do within the parks they have. We know Magic Kingdom's going to get a new land. We know that. Animal Kingdom's getting, Dino Land is going to be gone, and there's going to be a new land there, or a different retheming of the land, I should say.
They need to put more working things in Hollywood studios, definitely, like we've said before.
But a lot of that money is going to go to roads, hotels, resorts, employees. So how much actually is available for building at the theme parks? And I know there will be some. That's why I think this year's D23 is the most important D23 event that they have had in years. I think if they fall short in appealing to Disney fans as a whole, it could really hurt them for the foreseeable future. I would never count them down or out. You can never count Disney down and out. But I think they're on the ropes right now a little bit. And if you guys disagree, please feel free. This is just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm looking forward to hearing the news that comes out of D23. I really wish I could actually be there in person to hear it, but they got some splaining to do.
Yeah, the excuse that Bob Chapek ruined the parks is gone. The excuse that the world events of 2020 have set them back, you can't use it anymore. I'm sorry. The time limit is up on that.
But I have friends that just were at Disneyland Paris.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
$50 a ticket.
Yeah.
Food was reasonably priced.
Yeah, but they have to pay extra for each attraction. Similar.
Only if you want. That's kind of like that whole Genie Plus thing. They said that it wasn't that busy. They didn't need it. They told me flat out it was less expensive than going to Walt Disney World.
Well, John said the same thing last week. He said he didn't need it.
But the problem is with that is you have to pay for the plane ticket to go over there.
You know what? But I do believe Genie Plus is a big reason why you're saying, and that goes to the whole pricing.
I actually think because the DAS pass has been changed and they're only allowing autistic children to use it, the lines have moved a lot better.
I just think more people were. I think people are just, all right, you caught me. Now I'll pay for it, and they're actually paying for Genie Plus.
A lot of people have called with different things, and I know this for a fact. But a friend of mine was here. Her daughter got it because she is autistic.
You know what, Darlene, I'm not going to disagree with you, but in the times I've been at the parks, I haven't noticed the lines going down any less.
I know for a fact the day we went to Disney Hollywood Studios that by the time we went to book our second pass, we couldn't get on Slinky Dog Dash because it was done for the day. We booked the first one. So the first we did was Toy Story Midway Mania. And then when it came time that once we walked through that gate, open up the app, let's order the second one. Well, we're not going on to Slinky Dog because it's gone already. If people weren't buying it, that wouldn't have been gone.
You know what? I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I think the problem it's still the number one problem with Genie Plus. It's the class system that they've created at Disney where they're taking people in droves that are coming onto the Genie Plus line or the Lightning Lane, and the standby line, okay, you two can go through. Your family 3, okay, go through. The rest of you wait 15, 20 minutes till we get the Lightning Lane through, and then we'll let a few more through. That's the problem.
Well, and I know that I've been told that they've cut down on how many Genie Pluses they're selling right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? We could debate this all day, and we're not going to come. We'll agree on some things and not others. So,
right.
What else?
All I can tell you is what it was like the first week in June when I used it.
Yeah,
there were things that we wanted to get, and they're like, that's not going to happen. It's gone already.
You know, I think there were days you can go to the parks and be able to use the standby line very successfully. And I think there are days you'll go to the parks, crowded or not, and you're going to wind up waiting on the standby line forever.
Yeah.
So are folks saying that we're seeing lower crowds in Florida?
Yes, it's not just Disney; it's everywhere.
So I was at Disneyland, what, 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
It was packed. It was packed. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I mean, I had not seen that many people at Disneyland in a while.
Maybe that's what people are doing. Maybe people are deciding to finally travel out to California and see
It could be.
Disneyland and go. And a lot of people went to Paris this year. I mean, we had our whole groups that went to Paris.
Yeah.
They're not coming to Florida.
Well, didn't Disneyland, and correct me again if I'm wrong, didn't they open up a new land or new attractions there recently? Or do something different that would get people in?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Zootopia opened somewhere.
It wasn't California.
That was overseas.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
California, they added some new things to downtown Disney that had not yet opened, but the newest thing that I saw was San Francisco and over at California Adventure. But that wasn't anything that would have drawn a crowd.
yeah.
Yeah. Zootopia
I don't know.
opened up, I think, in Tokyo.
Yeah, it was
Here's-
overseas. I
this
don't know
is-
where.
So to fly out of Chicago to France, round trip, I don't know what this date is. I'm not looking that close into it, but it's almost the exact same price as me flying to Florida right now.
You know what I'd like to see Disney do, and I think it could help them build more attractions and fix up some of the ones that need help. And I won't mention all of them, but I'll mention the Imagination Pavilion that desperately needs help. Go back to sponsorships. If you can get corporations,
How
big
does it
corporations to sponsor stadiums,
Right.
why can't you get, on a smaller scale, someone to sponsor these pavilions or these attractions?
They're having problems with it. They've been having problems with that since before COVID.
Right.
But I think they need to try to figure out a way to get around those issues. I think it's still something worth attempting.
If you're reporting the profits that Disney parks are reporting, do you really think that somebody's going to jump on a sponsorship?
That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. But
Yeah,
look
that's
at all the properties that are failing outside of the parks, and that's why Disney's not making as much money as it appears they are. That's not to say they're not profiting from a lot of things. They are, most certainly are. But I agree with you, Lottie. I think that's one of their biggest issues.
Yeah, Lottie, you can drop the mic on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chevrolet's still sponsoring Test Track,
And they're getting profits from it.
Yeah, it sounds like what they're doing there is going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to pay homage to the first theme of
Right.
Test Track and put in some new
World
stuff.
of Motion.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it is possible to find sponsors out there for certain pavilions or attractions that can assist in helping plus whatever attractions there or bring something new in even. I just think they need to, and maybe they are, but explore it a little bit differently. But you know what? You're absolutely right, Lottie. If a business sees, hey, you're making this much in profit, why are we paying you millions of dollars to do something you can afford?
They're putting some major stipulations in on things as well, by the way. So that four parks for $99 per park, you're getting a 4-day ticket. And if you go before August 15th, there's a stipend you have to put on top of that. It's not $99. It's close to like $125, depending on the time that you're going. So they're raising it up per price per day.
Yeah.
Likewise, you can't get a 4-day ticket and say, I want to spend 2 days in the Magic Kingdom and 2 days over in Epcot. It literally is for one
4 parks.
park each day. You can't skip one park and go to a different park instead.
Yeah. Something else I think they're having an issue with too is the restaurants at Disney World. I think people are fed up paying such exorbitant price. And they just raised it again with their dining plan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're hurting themselves, but what they're really doing is they're following what everybody else is doing all over the place. They're not doing anything different. But I think all those are factors in why some people have said, you know what, we'll skip Disney this year.
Mm.
Possibility.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we usually hit a Disney park. My mom keeps all of her grandkids for 1 week out of the summer. In the last couple of years, we've done either Disneyland or Disney World, and this is the first year we're not doing it.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's I like to eat outside of the parks. I like to find mom and pop restaurants. But when I go to the parks and I'm there and it's lunchtime or dinner, I don't mind having a meal there because I know the food is good. But I don't want to make reservations, in advance because I don't know where. I like doing Disney spontaneously. As an annual pass holder, that's one of the benefits of living here. Gives you that you can. Yes, I know you have to make reservations of the parks, but you can still after 2 p.m. If I decide, okay, I want to go today, I don't have to worry about making a reservation, seeing if any of it are available. And if I decide I want to eat there, the only issue I might have is this restaurant full or not?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard for people who are traveling for a week and spending their vacation here, especially people who are going to have a car, whether it's their own or a rental, to say, okay, I see what the prices are here. Do we want to stay in the parks or can we go, to one of the tourist areas and where they have all these chain restaurants and yeah, the food may not be as good, but it won't cost us as much. But I think they'll be surprised to see that it won't be that much less. I don't know if I'm making a point there, but I just think they're having issues with their restaurants for pricing guests out of them.
And I guess
I
it
can't.
depends on where you go, some mom and pop places can be expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and some can be reasonable. Some might have
Tourists aren't looking at the mom and pop places. They're looking at the chain restaurants for the most part, or what's near their hotel or resort.
192 has definitely a ton of chains.
Oh, of course. And also,
We just went to a chain restaurant today, and I was surprised to see some of the stuff that we ordered just 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, have jumped in price by at least $3 to $4.
Mm.
I heard this on a sports call-in show, and I tend to agree with it. Restaurants are having trouble keeping employees because employees want more money. At the same time, their cost for food is going up. So when a restaurant patron comes into the restaurant, they're not getting the same service they got, and they may not even be getting the quality of food. Well, the quality of food might be there, may not be there, but it's turning a lot of people off. So people aren't going; they're not eating out as much as they used to, and
There's
it's a
also
trend.
There's also the
Right.
charge for credit card processing now, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yes. A lot of places are posting that if you use a debit or a credit card, there's a 3% surcharge.
Yeah, you know what? Those restaurants, I'll say, see ya, bye.
I just had to look at my receipt. I did not have that today.
There's
But
a
a lot of the
restaurant.
mom and pop places are doing that. However, they leave a place for a tip. You're handing me a bag, but I'm tipping you. And 5 years ago, I asked someone, am I supposed to tip you? It was one of my students, and she goes, why? I handed you a bag. You shouldn't have to tip me at all.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. I think tipping has gotten so out of control in this country. I'd rather see the price of my meal go up a few dollars per entree and not have to tip. Build it into the price of the food. Give the wait staff more money, and I don't have to leave a tip.
I have a good one for you. A $2 kitchen charge.
Hmm.
Where was
That's
that?
for the cook.
I was at a restaurant last year with my dear friend in Buffalo, and one of the restaurants we went to was a mom and pop place, and there was the $2 charge for the kitchen. And then you have to tip on top of that the waitresses.
There's I don't want to mention the name of the chain restaurant, but there's a chain restaurant on 192. I believe it's in Margarita. It is in Margaritaville. I don't know if they're still doing it, but last year they started, in addition to the tip, they started charging a fee, which I forgot what they called it, but it was something along the line, like it was almost like a second tip.
Mm-hmm.
Instead
I
of
know
calling what it
exactly
really
what you're
was,
talking about.
cover the cost for the
They're still
rising prices of the food.
They're still doing it.
Yeah. I won't go back to that restaurant. I can tell you right now. I enjoyed the food there, but I won't go back because I know there's another restaurant in the same chain, someplace maybe a little bit further away that is not doing that.
Yeah.
And I think they're taking advantage of the tourists in the area as well
Yeah.
here. But it's happening all over.
Well,
You
geez,
know,
I just went and got what was it? I had an oil change done, and I paid with my credit card when I got a battery. And who carries $300 with them?
yeah,
There was a 3% surcharge for using the credit card. I'm like, that's crazy.
that is crazy.
Okay, back on topic.
Yes, let's get back on top. But you know what? I think even though this got off topic a little bit, I think this is part of the problem why people aren't going to Disney World. And I think it's affecting SeaWorld, Universal.
Oh yeah, all of them.
I think people are just getting sick and tired of paying fees and fees on top of fees. And Disney does it too when they sell you a ticket. There's the tax that they don't include with the price that they tell you it's going to cost, and other fees on top of that. And they're no different than anybody else.
You can get your tickets through a second party and not have half those fees on there. You save $30 to $40 per ticket.
Yeah, but do you know how many times I go to the parks, and if I get there first thing in the morning or earlier in the morning, the lines of the ticket lines to purchase tickets for that day, it's not. It's people just don't plan in advance like they should.
And that's fine, because then I can get into the park and onto the ride faster. Let me get onto that attraction right now while you're busy doing that.
Yeah. I think this is a concern for Disney. I think it was expected, though. I don't think it's anything that they didn't plan for this year. How much longer it's going to continue, I don't know. I think next year, when Epic Universe opens up, Disney will get some of that crowd, but for how long? Will it be enough to? Will be comparable to what they? And I'm not going to count this year. What they had in 2022 and 2023 in terms of crowds? I don't think so. But I've been wrong before.
Again, the temperature is a major factor. The fact that you guys get maybe 12 hurricanes a year, and that's like the minimum number you're thinking of this year. And they've already had that one tropical storm that's hit Texas. It easily could have curved back and hit Florida. I think that is weighing on people's minds, some. But I still know people that are coming in on August 15th, which is prime time hurricane season.
I don't buy that as much. And I'm not saying it's not a factor. I think it's a minor factor. And I'll go back to cruising. Cruises, for the most part this year, are selling out right and left to the point where they're actually overbooking some cruises. And if people are willing to cruise during hurricane season, why wouldn't they go to Disney during hurricane season?
Because you can move the boat around the hurricane. You can't move the park away from it.
But your itinerary, if you planned a trip and it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip, or you want to go into a certain itinerary, you know that itinerary may get canceled because of the weather.
But they're not once-in-a-lifetime itineraries. The bulk of the cruises that are going out of Miami and Port Canaveral are Bahamas, Caribbean islands, and now the focus is going on all these private islands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you can't get into one, we'll go to the other one.
Right.
Yeah. You're right.
The focus now is the ship, right? You got Icon and Utopia of the Seas coming out. My kids don't even get off the ship in Nassau anymore. They just want to.
No.
Nassau's not worth. I want to see the new port. I haven't seen the new port in Nassau, so I will get off the ship. If I ever go on a cruise that goes there, I'll spend 10 minutes there, and then I'll get back on the ship, and I'll never get off again when it goes to Nassau. I think you're right. I think to a large extent, it's become the ship. I mean, I went on a cruise not that long ago. It was a celebrity cruise. And I want to tell you, the Alaska trip that I went on with the Disney cruise was the best cruise I've ever taken because of the itinerary and where we were going. This cruise was the best I've ever gone on all around in terms of entertainment and food. And I would do Celebrity again and again and again. I'm going to try a different cruise line next year. But or from just looking at some of the videos, I don't want to mention the cruise line yet. I don't expect it to be the same as the Celebrity cruise line, but I don't want it to be the same. I want each cruise line to have its own identity and enjoy it for what it is. But I fell in love with Celebrity. It was such a great cruise. And it's a lot cheaper than Disney.
Yeah, I want to try them. That's one.
And off topic again, I'm sorry about that.
I've not done Celebrity and MSC. Those are on my list.
I don't think Celebrity's for kids.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But they're the sister cruise line to Royal, right?
Yes, they are. Yeah. Big difference between Royal and Celebrity. It's like apples and oranges. You can't compare the two. It's just very different.
Well, they all are. I mean,
yeah,
I've done Disney, Norwegian, Royal Caribbean. They all have their merits. Right now, my kids love the ships on Royal. So
notice no one has mentioned Carnival.
I have done Carnival. They're the McDonald's of cruises. I would rather not.
I'm glad you said it. Yeah, it's every time I hear fights broken out on a cruise, 9 out of 10 times it's that line.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, it tends to be a younger, rowdy crowd, I guess. I don't know. But I know somebody, I used to work with someone who took a Carnival cruise. They got stuck at a port for a few days because they had to fly a part in to fix the ship, and they never really fixed it properly. They just were able to get it out of there. And so they basically had a cruise to one place and went nowhere.
Wow. It's crazy.
That was years ago. But I know a lot of people love it. So anyway, just like a lot of people love Disney, and I'm sure a lot of people want to come back to Disney or haven't been here and want to come with their kids and see what it has to offer. And they've been either outpriced or the economy has taken a toll on their family. One of my neighbors said, and this is true, what would you rather do? Mortgage your home and go to Disney World for a week, or put food on your table for your family and kids? In some cases, that's what it's come down to.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Disney because this is a Disney podcast, but by no means am I putting the blame on Disney. It's going on everywhere.
Do
I
want
to
see? Parks are doing it. It's not just Disney. Again, I gave the example of the local festival. When you're paying $6 for a small bag of cotton candy, really? Cotton candy, it's like paying $12 for a Coca-Cola.
Yeah. It's everybody now has to make choices. Unless you're in that 1 percentile, everybody has to make choices. Am I going to go to the parks and get that T-shirt, or am I going to get a second Dole Whip? Maybe I'll get one Dole Whip instead of two. Am I going to have a sit-down meal, or would I rather spend less money and have counter service? Do I want to go off property if I can and find a meal someplace else that's cheaper? Or if I'm staying in a resort that has a kitchen, do I want to cook in the resort? I know a lot of people that are doing that. They're staying off property, have a kitchen. They're going to Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, and they're stocking their kitchen for the week or however many days they're there.
Yep.
We do that with our DVC resort.
Yeah. I think the economy has to change for the better. And a lot of factors go into that. And we're not going to get into that here because we're not, that's not what we're here for. For people to come back to the parks like they once were. That doesn't mean Disney can't do their part to entice people to come back regardless of what the cost is. I think they will. I'm just waiting for that to happen.
So my thought here is that with the amount of people that are coming down this year, I think a lot of it does have to do with the weather too. And we've said that before, but we got warm really quick this year.
We did.
This is the hottest we've ever gotten. But then again, it's warmer in Buffalo, West Seneca, and where Lottie and Kurt are. It's hotter up there
Well,
than it's
but that didn't happen until this week.
Right.
The week I was there, the first week in June, 96, 97 degree weather in June, first week. And that usually it's only around 88. Now it came down towards the end of the week. I mean, Tampa saw 98 degrees on the Saturday before I left. It felt like 106 or something like that with all the other garbage you throw on there.
Down here in Florida, I've been here 4 years now, and the first few years here, April, or I'll say mid-March through April, you had California-like weather here.
Yeah.
And May would get a little bit warmer, but not hot. Like you'd have some days that were hot, but you wouldn't be in the 90s almost every day, or the upper 80s even. You'd be in the low to mid 80s. This year it's like 90, 93, 94. Oh, it's only going to be 88 today. Nope, 94 degrees.
94.
Enjoy.
With the heat index of 105.
Yeah. So for anybody who says there's no such thing as global warming,
Right.
give me a break.
Mm-hmm.
You also noted it was mentioned now that it is into June. It was mentioned in the news that the water taxis that have been closed for the last 2 months have reopened from 1 week's worth of rain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
1
Disney
week.
World got a lot more rain than I got where I live, and I'm not that far from Disney.
Yeah,
How about
no,
you?
we've been watering every day.
Yeah, it's hardly rain here. I mean, Disney. It was the other night. Who was there? One of my friends was at Disney, and it was pouring there. And I'm going like, no, it sprinkled here for like a second, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been coming down there a lot.
Yep, God is looking out for them. It's keeping them in plentiful water, and I wish it would just spread out to the rest of Central Florida. Miami's been getting clobbered too.
Yeah. I know it rained in Bach Tower for a good hour yesterday. So
for those who don't know, Bach Tower is south of where Darlene is. It's Lake Wales, right?
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's like 20 minutes away.
Place.
It's like a botanical garden.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I would recommend for somebody who's visiting for a week or so to go see. But if you live here and you can within an hour, I think it's worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
I think the weather is definitely the heat is a concern for a lot of people. In the hurricanes, pricing, people staying away because they're holding out for Epic Universe next year.
I think people have to pick and choose, and I think that's what they're doing. Especially like a lot of runners and stuff, they'll come down during those times instead of coming down during the summer.
Yeah, but anybody who's got school kids, and that's what Disney counts on for June, July, and part of August. They're not coming like they have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've mentioned a lot of the factors for that. And like for me, I think the biggest one is they're just staying closer to home, taking cheaper vacations, ones they can afford that won't break the bank. But I think they're going to find even with those vacations, they're still spending a lot of money on things that a few years ago did not cost anywhere near as much.
Yep.
Things are going up everywhere. So do I think the crowds will come back to Disney? I do, but I think they've got to do something to help entice the crowds back, because they're not going to drop the prices. Nobody's going to drop their prices.
Oh, we are supposed to go to Atlanta in late August, and looked up tickets for the theme park there, and oh my gosh, the price difference. We just looked at each other and shook our heads, because we can get our entire family of 5 into the park and still pay, and it's cheaper than a 1-day park hopper.
That's incredible. And I think a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't know
Yeah.
what I
I
don't know what
think.
SeaWorld's doing in terms of prices. And Universal is comparable to Disney.
Mhm.
Not
Cheaper.
exact, but
I mean,
comparable.
I bought 1-day passes to both Disneyland and Universal a couple of weeks ago, and $50 cheaper.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, it's Disney has definitely outpriced some segment of their fans. Not all. And do I think they're concerned about it? Not as much as probably we are. I still think it comes down to what they're going to do with D23. I think if they give us something, I I think the fans will be thrilled and say, "Wow, this is great." And if it's a dud like it was the last couple of years, you know, people don't want the promises anymore. They want to see things being put from pen to paper. Don't give us these blue sky promises. Just do it already.
Well, whatever they decide to do, I hope there's some more space for larger families coming.
I
Yeah,
hope so too.
I think if they, God, I hope they do. If they're going to build more resorts like they say they plan to, you would hope it would include family suites that are affordable, not just
That are
family suites
affordable.
that, you know,
Yeah.
okay, this one will be $10,000 for a week.
I think what
Art
they
of
should.
Animation, when that opened, was $210 to sleep a family of 6, and last I checked, it was over 400.
It's crazy.
Well over 400.
It's crazy. You can stay at a resort or a hotel off property. And yes, you are losing out on certain things by staying off property for, and I don't want to say a fraction of the price, but for a lot less.
Well, when you can book 2 rooms that are the quality of an Art of an Animation room, okay? So it'd be like a moderate resort off property. When you can book 2 of those rooms and still pay for parking and make it into the parks for less than you're paying for that one room, that's not acceptable.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I think Disney's got a lot of figuring out to do, as does, you know, and I keep saying this, as does everybody else, but I think regardless of the prices, because we've seen it, people are still willing to pay the price to go to Disney World. They will if you give them something to bring them into the parks and stay there. They haven't been doing that. They got rid of Magical Express, which kept people in the parks.
Right.
And I understand why. And, you know, I don't disagree with that move completely. But I think they've got to go back. Okay, how can we keep people here, guests here, and not have them go to Universal? What can they do? The
They
Fifth Park would do that.
When Epic Universe opens, it's going to be how can we not keep them away, right? It's
Oh, of course. Do you remember when they were opening up the Harry Potter land at Universal? Disney counteracted them immediately. We're going to do Pandora. What have they done this time? Nothing. It's been radio silence. Well, we may do this. We may not. Well, we're thinking of it. It's possible. Wouldn't that be
They
great?
cut so much stuff out. They cut so much stuff out that was supposed to come.
Yeah.
It doesn't help when you also take an annual pass, raise the price of it by $200, and then remove the fast pass, or I'm sorry, remove the photo pass and say, oh, if you'd like that, you can have it for $100 more.
Yep.
And then raise the price of the regular photo pass for people.
But you know what?
Isn't it like almost $300 now?
Disney's always done that through the years. They start out by giving you a lot and they slowly take things away.
Mm-hmm.
They did that with their dining plan. Years ago, it was affordable. It included an appetizer.
Mm-hmm.
Appetizer, entree, and dessert.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then they took the appetizer
And
away.
tip. And tip.
Yes,
It
that's
included
right.
everything.
It was included. You're absolutely right.
And the service wasn't very good. So they took the tip part out and said, you can add whatever you want for a tip.
We never had
make
bad
it all tip you
service.
better.
On the dining plan, we always got great service. I can't complain.
I haven't either. People did complain about it.
You know, I think part of the problem is their board of directors. Their current board of directors is looking at things. How much profit can we make? You guys in the parks are not doing enough to make us money. And that's the only. It's their biggest money maker.
No, you guys in the parks are the only thing that are making us money.
No, I said that.
You need to keep your profit level. You're the only thing making money. You got to keep the profit level.
Why is that? Someone came up with the idea for Genie Plus, and they're running with it. It's another cash cow for them.
They can't. Well, until Inside Out Part 2 came on, they haven't had a hit in the theaters pre-COVID.
Yeah, their movies have been horrendous to say the least.
So maybe if that helps the bottom line for everyone, that can help with the parks as well.
Oh, we hope
maybe.
So.
I'm not holding my breath.
So. I have my thoughts on the parks too that I've mentioned, and not the parks, their movies, but I'm not going to bring it up now. That's not what we're here for today. But I think the board of directors is part of the problem. I think not part of the problem. It's they're looking at things. They want to make as much profit as they can. They're looking at things. How much money can you make this quarter? Not how much money can you make over the next 10 years. I'm sure they've got a plan down for 5 years and 10 years. But their real concern, like most corporations, is what's at the end of the rainbow when this next quarter ends? How much profit are we going to make? And they need to start looking ahead to keep up not only with Universal, who is doing these amazing things, but they need to get ahead of the curve to keep people coming back to the parks.
Unfortunately, they're in kind of a "what have you done for me lately" mode. But we're supposed to be doing that to them, not them doing it to us.
Correct.
It's backwards right now.
Yep, I agree. I do agree with that. All right, I think we've exhausted this topic.
Yeah.
And on that note, we will be back next week. Maybe not the same day and time, but we will be back next week. So until then, everybody be safe, be yourself. Wait, no, 4th of July is 2 weeks. Never mind. Be safe, be yourself. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
See you real soon.
Have a magical night. Stay safe. Pack your sunscreen and your rain ponchos.
Does anybody want to sing with John not being here this week?
No.
So then,
no.